Imagine this. A father, just an ordinary guy, sitting on his couch after a long day, flipping through the channels, looking for something to watch. He's not a detective, not a journalist, just a regular dad trying to unwind. But tonight, the news is different. It's not just background noise, it's a story that grabs his attention and won't let go. What if I told you that this very moment, this simple act of watching TV, would set off a chain of events that would help solve one of the year's most shocking murder cases? It sounds like something out of a movie, right? But this is real life. In a case that had the whole country on edge, it wasn't just the police or the experts who cracked it. It was a dad, sitting in his living room, who noticed something no one else did. His sharp eye and gut feeling would become the missing piece in a puzzle that had stumped even the best investigators. Let's break down the wild story step by step and see how one person's intuition can change everything. Charlie Kirk, a well-known activist and public figure, was in the middle of a passionate speech at Utah Valley University. The event was packed. Students, faculty, and media all gathered to hear him speak. Suddenly, chaos erupted. In a matter of seconds, shots rang out and Kirk collapsed on stage. The crowd scattered in panic, and within moments the news was everywhere. Charlie Kirk had been assassinated in broad daylight right in front of hundreds of witnesses. The shock was immediate and overwhelming. People across the country couldn't believe what they were seeing. Social media exploded with theories, rumors, and raw emotion. For many, it felt like the world had stopped. The pressure on law enforcement was intense. Everyone wanted answers, and they wanted them fast. Cops launched a massive manhunt, working around the clock. They released photos of the suspect, held press conferences, and scoured every inch of evidence they could find. The case dominated headlines, and the public was glued to every update. Police begged for help, asking anyone with information to come forward. The response was overwhelming. Tips poured in from all over, some wild, some credible, all of them adding to the mountain of information investigators had to sift through. The police set up hotlines, opened tip lines, and even held community meetings, hoping that someone, somewhere, had seen something that could break the case wide open. Leads poured in, some wild, some legit, but nothing stuck. The detectives worked tirelessly, sorting through stacks of reports, following up on every possible lead. They mapped out timelines, cross-checked alibis, and tried to piece together a motive. But every time they thought they were close, the trail went cold. The frustration was palpable. Days ticked by, pressure mounted, and the killer was still out there. The community grew restless, and the victim's family was desperate for closure. The police knew they were running out of time. Every day without an arrest felt like a failure, and the world was watching. That's when our story takes a turn. In the middle of all this chaos, a father, just watching the story unfold from his living room, noticed something everyone else missed. Maybe it was a detail in the suspect's walk, a strange gesture, or a background object in a news clip. Whatever it was, it nagged at him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he'd seen something important. Trusting his gut, he picked up the phone. He called the police tip line, his voice steady but urgent. He described what he'd seen, a detail so small, most people would have missed it, but he was sure it mattered. The operator listened, took notes, and promised to pass it along. For the father, it was a leap of faith. He didn't know if it would help, but he knew he had to try. That one call changed everything. The detectives took a closer look at the tip, and suddenly, the pieces started to click. The detail the father noticed connected two pieces of evidence that had seemed unrelated. It was the breakthrough they'd been waiting for. The investigation shifted into high gear, and the team worked through the night, chasing down the new lead. Authorities swarmed the new lead, tracked the suspect, and boom, an arrest. The suspect was taken into custody without incident, and the news broke almost immediately. Relief swept through the community. The sense of fear and uncertainty that had hung over everyone finally began to lift. The community finally got answers, all because a regular dad listened to his intuition. The victim's family could begin to heal, and the city could start to move forward. The police publicly thanked the father for his courage and attention to detail, reminding everyone that sometimes the smallest observation can make the biggest difference. It's a powerful reminder. Sometimes, big cases break wide open thanks to everyday people paying attention. You don't have to be a detective to make a difference. All it takes is the courage to speak up when something doesn't feel right, and the willingness to trust your instincts. In a world where we're often told to leave things to the experts, this story proves that anyone can be a hero. If you love twists like this, hit subscribe for more true crime stories that show how anyone, yes, even you, can make a difference. Stay curious, stay alert, and remember, sometimes the most important clue is the one you notice when no one else is looking.